Throughout history, human societies have faced similar challenges. Droughts, floods, economic pressure, and social change have tested every civilization that has ever existed. Yet some societies managed to survive these pressures, while others slowly faded from prominence. The difference often had little to do with military strength or sudden disaster. Instead, it came down to how well a civilization could adapt when conditions changed. Adaptation is not a dramatic process. It happens quietly, through small decisions made over decades. A farming community shifts to new crops when rainfall patterns change. A trading network adjusts its routes when old partners decline. A government reforms its tax system before debt becomes unmanageable. These adjustments seem minor at the time, but they determine whether a society can maintain stability when external pressures increase. Research suggests that flexible institutions were among the most important factors. Civilizations with decentralized decision-making often responded more quickly to local problems. When a drought affected one region, local administrators could redirect resources without waiting for approval from a distant capital. When new technologies emerged, communities with autonomy could experiment and adopt what worked. Centralized systems sometimes struggled with this kind of responsiveness, particularly when they grew too large and coordination became difficult. Environmental awareness also played a significant role. Some societies developed sophisticated understandings of their ecosystems. They tracked seasonal patterns, managed water resources carefully, and avoided overexploiting their land. Archaeological evidence indicates that these communities often implemented crop rotation, terracing, and irrigation systems designed to last for generations. When climate fluctuations occurred, these societies had buffers in place. Their harvests might decline, but rarely failed completely. Economic diversity provided another layer of resilience. Civilizations that relied on a single export or resource faced serious vulnerability when markets shifted. Evidence points to societies that maintained multiple economic activities, agriculture, crafts, trade, and resource extraction, as being better positioned to weather downturns. When one sector struggled, others could sustain the population until recovery occurred. This distribution of economic activity reduced overall risk and created stability across the entire system. Social cohesion mattered as well. Historians suggest that societies with strong communal bonds and shared identity could mobilize collective action more effectively during crises. When floods threatened, communities with established cooperation patterns worked together to build defenses. When food stores ran low, societies with traditions of redistribution could prevent localized starvation from escalating into broader collapse. These networks sustained populations through difficult periods and reinforced trust between different social groups. Not all adaptations succeeded. Some civilizations attempted reforms that came too late or were too limited in scope. Climate changes sometimes occurred faster than agricultural systems could adjust. Even well-organized civilizations could encounter combinations of stresses that overwhelmed their adaptive capacity. The margin between survival and decline was often narrow and unpredictable. The Maya civilization presents a complex example. While some Maya cities declined during the 9th century, others persisted for hundreds of years afterward. Recent research indicates that cities with access to diverse water sources and flexible agricultural systems maintained their populations longer. Those that had relied heavily on elaborate water management infrastructure struggled when droughts intensified. The decline was uneven and gradual across different regions. The Roman Empire's experience offers another perspective. As the empire expanded, its administrative systems became increasingly complex. Managing distant provinces required extensive bureaucracy, costly military presence, and sophisticated logistics. When economic growth slowed and external pressures mounted, maintaining this infrastructure became more difficult. Some regions adapted by developing more localized governance structures, allowing continuation under different forms, and allowing local solutions to emerge. In contrast, Japanese society demonstrated remarkable adaptability during the medieval period. When centralized imperial authority declined, regional lords developed their own administrative systems. These smaller political units could respond quickly to local conditions. When external threats emerged, these decentralized forces coordinated effectively without requiring a strong central state. The flexibility of this system allowed it to endure and evolve. Smaller societies sometimes adapted through migration. When environmental conditions deteriorated, mobile communities could relocate to more favorable areas. The Polynesian expansion across the Pacific demonstrates this strategy. Over centuries, seafaring communities explored and settled new islands when populations outgrew local resources. Movement itself became a form of adaptation and cultural strength. Technology transfer also contributed to adaptation. Societies that remained open to external ideas could integrate new techniques when traditional methods proved insufficient. The adoption of iron tools, new agricultural crops, and advanced construction methods often spread through trade networks. This exchange of knowledge expanded the range of possible responses to changing circumstances. However, adaptation had limits. Some environmental changes occurred too rapidly for gradual adjustment. When volcanic eruptions devastated agricultural land or earthquakes destroyed infrastructure, even well-organized societies faced immediate crises. Adaptable civilizations often recovered more quickly because they had existing mechanisms for collective response. Recovery depended on institutional strength and social cooperation. The archaeological record shows that most civilizations experienced cycles of stress and recovery. Few societies maintained steady growth over long periods. The ones that persisted tended to have institutions capable of learning from past difficulties and adjusting their practices accordingly. This learning happened gradually, embedded in cultural memory, and transmitted across generations for sustained benefit and long-term survival. Understanding why some civilizations adapted better than others reveals patterns rather than simple answers. Flexibility, diversity, environmental awareness, and social cohesion all contributed to resilience. Yet even societies with these qualities sometimes declined when pressures exceeded their capacity, or when necessary adaptations came too late. What remains clear is that civilizational continuity required constant adjustment, and societies that maintained the capacity to change gradually proved more durable than those that could not. The historical record suggests that adaptation was always a process of incremental response, and the civilizations we remember adapted just well enough to leave their mark on the centuries that followed through adaptation, resilience, and persistence.